Hey guys, let's talk about domain and range from word problems. Okay, so here's kind of the process. We want to, if you can find your independent and dependent quantities, then score, you're in a good place. That'll make things a lot easier. And here's a big tip. When we're reading word problems, look for the rate. It's going to be something per or for every, for each, right? Because whatever comes after that is your domain quantity. That's going to be your independent quantity. Domain is X values independent quantity. So if you can find that per something, you found your domain. You're going to write an equation for this because when you write an equation, you're identifying the pieces, right? So y equals mx plus b, m is the rate, x is my independent quantity, which is the domain. If I know that, sweet, score. Okay, B is our starting amount. So is there an initial amount other than 0? Okay. And then Y is going to be our dependent quantity. But remember, Y values are the range, right? Domain is X, range is Y. Okay, so if I can write the equation, that's another way I can identify domain and range. We're going to identify what the variables are. You have to know discrete versus continuous. Discrete means only certain values count. So think people, right? We have whole people. We can't have 1.5 people. Everyone is a whole person. Yes, even if there's amputations, even if it's a baby growing inside, right? That's still a whole person. They don't become less of a person. So whole people, so only certain values count. Continuous would mean every value counts. So think about time. Time runs continuously, right? Seconds, minutes, hours, everything in between. Think money, all the change in between counts, right? We don't just do dollar, 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 or count by fives. It can be $5.01, $5.02, right? So continuous is every value counts. And we're going to use tables to kind of help us determine that range, especially because tables are awesome visuals for us. So here we go. Example A, Olivia invited 5 friends to go to Six Flags with her this weekend. Unfortunately, no one has season passes, so they'll have to pay the sales price of $54.99 per person. Okay, so we have our words. Now go through the process. This is how you should figure it out in your head. So what's the rate? So I'm looking for that per something. All right, so I have this $54.99 per person. If you can find your rate, you know what the domain quantity is. So then I go and look at my word problem for anything else that has to do with people. And I have Olivia invited 5 friends. So that's my domain right there. Okay, so that's very helpful to me. I'm going to write an equation where the total cost y, so y equals for the x number of friends. So total cost, right, because that's what y is, total cost. If you can give meaning to everything, it makes sense. Total cost equals, well, it's going to be $54.99 per friend that I bring, so times each friend. Okay, so that's what we're looking at. Cool. Okay, so domain, what does it represent? Well, since I've been looking for the rates, I know that it's friends because friends determines total cost. Okay, so now is our domain discrete or continuous? It's discrete because we're talking about people, because people are whole numbers. I can't have part of a person, okay? So it would be whole numbers. The domain then, when it's discrete, you have to make a list. And we do that inside of brackets, and I go and I look, well, how many people could it be? Well, we have Olivia, so it could be 1, and she invited 5 friends, so it could be up to Olivia and 5 friends. So it could be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. It could be any of those values, okay? So we have to list it out, and this means that 1 to 6 people go. Okay, they're going to Six Flags. The range then is the other thing that we're looking at. So we already talked about friends, so range has to be the cost. This is also going to be discrete because it's a price per person, right? So it's going to be distinct amounts, right? There's not a range, there's not a continuous flow of money there. So the range, we actually have to do some math to figure out. So I set up, I know what my domain is because that's my friends. And then I use the equation to figure out those y values, right? So it'd be 54.99 times 1, and then 54.99 times 2, times 3, times 4, times 5, times 6, right? So you get the whole amount. So I'm going to tell you, like, you should jump into Desmos, figure it out. It'd be 54.99, 109.98, 164.97, 219.96, 220, 274, 95, 329, 94. Okay, this is our range, and we make a list because it's discrete. So I would list all of those numbers in my parentheses. Because that's it, right? I don't have to pay anything in between. If 2 people come, that's the price, right? So this represents the total, possible total cost. Okay, so just create meaning, create meaning, create meaning. All the numbers in math, they always represent something. Here we go again. Carmela wants to go mountain biking. The local bike shops rent bikes for $4.50 per hour plus a $10 deposit. Carmela plans on spending 3 to 7 hours exploring the trails. So find the rate, the something per, which is $4.50 per hour. Okay, so hours is our domain. And I'm just going to go look what else talks about hours. Right here, he's talking about hours. Okay, so I'm already thinking I know my domain. Let's go write our equation. So total cost, what would that be? It's going to be the $4.50 per hour. Remember, X is our hours. And then plus, okay, literally do what it says, add $10. So I have to add the deposit onto that. Okay, all right. Domain represents hours, because hours determines cost, right? The longer he rents it, the more he pays. This is going to be continuous because time is continuous. Okay, we can include minutes, seconds, hours in it. What's the domain then? Since it's continuous, we create the inequality sandwich here. So I look up here and it said between 3 and 7. So 3 is my left value and its domain, so it's X, up to 7 hours. So he rents between 3 to 7 hours. Okay. The range then is what we haven't talked about yet, which is cost. Cost is also going to be continuous because they could charge part of an hour now, right? So with this, we just need to know the lowest amount he's going to have to pay and the highest, which we use the domain to figure out. Use the low and the high for the domain, and then we plug that in and see what would that cost. So I do 450 times 3 plus 10, 450 times 7 plus 10. When I do that, I get 2350, and I get 4150. Okay, so my range is an inequality sandwich, y in the middle, and my low and my high cost. Okay, so they'll spend between $23.50 and $41.50. That's what we're finding out. We're seeing like, where do all these values exist? Okay, one more. Here we go. If it will take a driver no more than 20 hours to travel from a warehouse to the store to make a delivery, the truck driver began driving with 200 gallons of fuel in the fuel tank and used fuel at a rate of 10 gallons per hour. Okay, what's the rate? Be very careful because he's using the fuel. So that means it's negative 10 gallons per hour. So this is actually negative 10 gallons per hour. So there's my domain is hours. Remember, it's the per whatever it is for every. I look, hey, I already know. Okay, I have an idea of what my domain is going to be. Okay, the equation, fuel left, and then I use my rate. So negative 10 times the number of hours. But I also have this starting amount. He started with 200. So plus 200. Okay. All right. The domain, what does it represent? Hey, it told me right here. X is domain. So that's our hours. Time is continuous. So it's continuous. So we're going to have an inequality sandwich. So between no more than 20 hours. Well, he can't go negative. So the least amount he drives is no hours up to 20 hours. So it's just telling us he drives up to 20 hours. The range then is the fuel left, which is also continuous because gas runs out continuously, right? So we're going to have another inequality and we have to figure out, okay, well, when x is 0, when x is 20, the highs and the lows. I have negative 10 times 0 plus 200. And I have negative 10 times 20 plus 200, which gets me 200 or 0. Okay, so always put low to high. So between 0 and 200. Okay, so he'll use between 0 and 200 gallons. That's what it means. Okay, so let's see how you can do. Break it apart, interpret it, and then keep going from there.